Hey there, it's BoardGameDave. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to travel back in time? Maybe you'd like to see ancient Egypt in its heyday, or travel back to the Stone Age, or pet a dinosaur, or meet with Julius Caesar, for example. If so, I've got the perfect game for you. And no, Gary, it's not an acrony, it's a game called Trekking Through History. This is a game in which you'll play as time travelers going on a 3-day tour of history in which you'll meet extraordinary men and women and witness incredible technological and cultural advancements and experience the most revolutionary events firsthand. This is a review copy that was sent to me from Underdog Games, and I'm so glad that they sent this my way because Trekking Through History is a fantastic family game for 2 to 4 players ages 10 and up, although there is an official print and play solo mode, and it takes about 30 to 60 minutes to play. Now, the rules are very, very simple, so let's head to the table and I'll teach you how to play this game, and then we'll come back and talk about my final thoughts about the game. All right, here we are all set up for a game of Trekking Through History. Now, it probably seems a little bit overwhelming at first, but don't worry, the player turns are actually very, very simple. In fact, let's go through our player aid and see what a turn looks like. On your turn, you're first going to choose a card from the display, right, including on top of the deck. Next, you're going to move your pocket watch a number of spaces equal to the number of spaces shown on the card. Third, you're going to collect benefits. So if I took this card, for example, I'd move up 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and I would get a blue token from the card and a yellow token from the space, and I get that from the supply. And by the way, these all have names like person and event, I think, and insight perhaps. So I take a blue and a yellow, and I'm going to add that to what's called my itinerary. Now, every player is going to have a board like this, right? And you're going to add this to there. So I put this blue one here, and you'll notice by doing that, I completed this row, which gives me immediately 6 more points, right? And then this yellow one goes here and it earns me a time crystal. We will talk about that in a bit, I promise. I'll add that to my vial, all right? So we did step 2, we did step 3. Fourth is placing the card in my trek. Now, currently I have 3 cards right now in my trek, and they're all in chronological order from 12,000 BC up to 900. We're gonna add this to my trek because it goes in chronological order. We'll talk about why that's important as well. And the last thing you do is slide and refill history cards. We slide these over, and boom, you're done, and it's time for the next person's turn. Now, how do you know who goes next? Well, it's whoever's farthest back on the clock. And by the way, if there was a tie, it's whoever's on top would go next. So in this case, yellow would go next, my dad, right? And maybe he takes a card and moves up 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's, Hannah's turn, and she goes next. Now the crystals are important because for each crystal that you spend, you can subtract 1 hour from the hour cost. And that's important because the round, right, each day, there's 3 rounds in this game, each round is gonna end for you when you hit 12 o'clock, right? And by the way, you are allowed to, let's say I'm at 11 o'clock, I can take a card that costs 5 hours, right? It'll just land me right at 12 o'clock. I don't overshoot that. But if I'm able to land right on 12 o'clock, I get, you guessed it, 3 points for a punctuality bonus. But once you're at 12 o'clock, your round ends. So it does behoove you, if you're trying to get more cards, to use these time crystals to shave down some of those hours. So maybe next I want to sculpt with Michelangelo, right? And instead of moving 2 hours, I can use my gem to make this 1 hour. Now, each event does have to require at least 1 hour, just so you know. So I could spend that, and again, I'd add a red and a yellow to my token. Now, why is it important for my events to be in chronological order? Well, because at the end of the game, you're gonna look at all your treks that you completed, right, in the game and get points based on basically how long you could keep this in consecutive order. So if this was my state at the end of the game, I've got 5 cards in chronological order and I'm gonna get 7 points, right? If I can get a 6th card, that's 10 points. If I can get, oh gosh, but now I'm stuck. So let's say my next turn, I'm realizing I can't keep this streak going, and I go all the way back to 708 BC. Well, that's just going to start a new trek, and I'm going to put these cards off to the side for scoring at the end of the game. You'll notice, by the way, you can score up to 18, 21, 30 points with treks, and then every card beyond that 10th card gives you 3 more points. So long treks is a big part of the game. You do not want to ignore getting these cards in chronological order. And by the way, I forgot about this. They even provide you with a cheat sheet of the card distributions in each age, in each day. So they do generally sort of go from a long time ago to more recent, but you know, there are some BC cards, or at least one in day 3 as well. So anyway, you're gonna do that until everybody eventually is gonna get to 12 o'clock, right? And that'll be your new player order like so. At the end of the day, again, this is on your player aid as well, you're going to wipe any cards from the current day. You're going to replace them with cards from the second day or the next day, right? You're going to fill the supply like so. You're going to wipe your whole board. So this is done. That restarts and you get a new one, okay? And then the only thing that stays basically is your current trek. So this stays there and you can build off of that day 1 trek with day 2 cards like so. So you'll notice that does not reset, okay? And that's it. At the end of the game, you are gonna add your trek points to wherever you were throughout the course of the game, right? So maybe that gives me 30 more points, and then every time crystal left over gives you a point, and whoever has the most points wins. And then the final thing is, in the game, there are these things called time warps. Now, this is basically a mini expansion they added, and each day, so 3 times throughout the game, you're gonna reveal a new time warp, right? So these can be places you can take your little player token, you can go here, right, spend the time and get that thing, like gain the benefits from your most recent card. So I don't know, if I had a crazy card like, can I find a really good one? Oh, sure, maybe this one, right? Maybe I was saving Vietnam with the Trung sisters, right? And I took that card last. I can spend 1 time, go here, and get 2 more red tokens and a green token, right? Or maybe there's just kind of pervasive benefits like this one. In this round, this age, you may choose to set aside any experiences you gain this round, place them on your new itinerary at the start of the next day. This is really great because once you fill up your board, right, any excess of that color just gets wasted. You don't get those. But with this in effect, you can hold on to them and at the beginning of the next day, load up your board with all these extras. I love that. If it's the end of the game instead, you get 1 point per. So anyway, there's so many of these, and these add a lot of interesting dynamics to the game. So I really enjoy these time warps. It does recommend that you don't use these until you're a little bit more familiar with the game, but I love that. So anyway, that's the whole gist of the game. You pick a card, you move your clock, you get the tokens, add it to your trek, refill the row, next person's turn. It's that easy, it's breezy, it's intuitive, it's fantastic. All right, well, hopefully that gave you enough of an idea of how to play Trekking Through History. Now let's talk about my 7-point criteria for rating a game, starting with the art and components. And here I have to give this game a 10 out of 10. They spared no expense on the components here. The wonderful thick playmat, the great tokens that cover up your itinerary board, and the cards themselves are printed on really nice stock with, I guess, a linen finish maybe. But more than that, I love the way you've got all this information on the back of the cards. There's nothing like a game that teaches you things as you play, and I think that between the art on the front of the card, the information on the back of the card, the quality of the components, and everything that's added in this game, okay? Don't forget about the time warps that give you a little bit of modular, variation every game, and the print and play solo mode, which is also available, obviously not part of the base game, but I love how much effort and time they put into the art and components. Even the organizer, the insert in here is fantastic. So, art and components for Trekking Through History is a 10 out of 10. For complexity versus audience, I give this game a 10 out of 10. This game is perfectly tailored to families, so kids as young as 10, maybe younger if they're, experienced gamers, can understand this game, and even the older folks, the not so seasoned gamers around the table, can understand this game. It's such an easy rule set. It's such an engaging theme, and the art and the components, everything is so, oh my gosh, so exciting about this game. So, complexity versus audience, it's a 10 out of 10. Third is thematic integration, and I'm gonna give Trekking Through History a 7 out of 10 here. Now, that might seem a little harsh, and I debated how I was gonna kind of rate this on thematic integration because you are traveling through time and you're, visiting your ancestors, and my car's all over the place, and you're experiencing these different events and meeting new people, and I love that part of it. I like the time track, I like how different events take a different amount of time, but also, what are these tokens that you're getting, and what on earth thematically is this itinerary board, and why are we scoring points for getting one of each, token? Of course, it's an abstract game, and the scoring is, of course, very abstract. So, It's not a knock on the gameplay, but as far as like that thematic tie-in, it's not the strongest. So I give it a 7 out of 10 for thematic integration. For intuitive mechanics, I give Trekking Through History a 9.5 out of 10. Now, it's almost perfectly intuitive. The turns are so simple and streamlined, but you might have to remind new players about the turn order or the ancestors and how those cards work, or maybe some of the time warps. But beyond that, this game is extremely intuitive and very easy to teach and learn. It's a 9.5 for me. Fifth is replayability. Now, initially I had given this game an 8 out of 10 for replayability. It is a very fun game, it's very enjoyable, and there's so much to explore. First of all, with all these history cards, there's 108 of these, I believe, in the game. So there's a ton of events and cards to check out and learn about on the back. But beyond that, the gameplay stays pretty much the same every game. Now, I had forgotten, though, about these time warps, and of course these 3 times per game is going to change up some aspect of the game. It's going to give you something you can do on your turn that gives you a special ability or scores you points or, gives you a special player power, something like that. So the fact that these are included in the game, that bumps it up for me to an 8.5 out of 10. A very playable game for sure. For length and fun factor, I give Trekking Through History a 9 out of 10. Now, this is a very fun game, and I feel like the length is just right for what you're doing in this game. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and again, that 30 to 60 minutes is pretty accurate based on my plays. Now, I will say there's not sort of a sense of progression or rising, tension toward the end of the game. You're just looping around that clock 3 times, and then you add up the score. So, there's not a certain trajectory in the game, but it's very fun nonetheless. It's consistently enjoyable and exciting throughout as you get new events and score points on your itinerary track. So 9 out of 10 for length and fun factor. And finally, for cost versus value, I give Trekking Through History an 8.5 out of 10. Now, as we talked about in the art and components, everything inside this box and even outside the box is so extremely high quality. The components are so nice. The artwork is brilliant. I don't even know who the artist is. I'll have to look into that. But it's absolutely lovely. Art by Eric Hibbler, it says. And I love that art style. I mean, look at that cover. It's gorgeous. But anyways, it is about a $50 game. It's hard to find it cheaper than that. So it's an expensive game, and there are games you can get for $50 or a lot less that are going to give you a similar, gameplay experience for not quite as much money. That being said, if you want a very deluxe, very high quality game that's going to teach you about history and be engaging for, everyone in your family, this is a really, really good bet. So 8.5 out of 10 for cost versus value. And there you have it. Overall, Trekking Through History earns an 8.93 out of 10. And as a teacher, I'm rounding that up to an impressive 9 out of 10. This is truly such an educational and engaging game. I love games. As I'm getting older, I really appreciate learning as I play games, right? I'm finding that that's such a theme that grabs me in some of these newer games that I'm getting, like Genotype and Cytosis and Her Story, which is also from Underdog Games. It's really neat to learn about things as you play games. It makes the gaming more meaningful in a certain way and more rewarding. So I highly recommend that you check out Trekking Through History. If this seems interesting to you, check out their website. They do have deals from time to time, so maybe, wait around for a deal to come out, but it's definitely a game worth checking out. Trekking Through History. Thank you again to Underdog Games for sending this my way, and thank you so much for sticking around for this whole review. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care and happy gaming. That was very abrupt, but I'll see you soon. Bye.